It's mostly about like, I am extremely lazy. And if I don't beat that person to crap,
who's gonna lift the logs and the
if I
boats?
don't,
David.
if I don't,
This is
if I
like
don't,
a real target-rich environment for some therapists if you're listening right now, because like that's what I'm hearing.
Man.
I'm still gonna call it Twitter.
no one
People
knows
call
what
it
you mean.
X.
If you say I was on X yesterday,
It's weird.
you were on ecstasy yesterday. If you can verbally assault a 12-year-old, you can.
No,
you
can you survive?
You can make a sale.
No. Can you survive the assault of a
from
12-year-old
from the 12-year-old,
and then put him back down in his place?
Make him cry.
Then you've won.
Anything.
I will say I need a vacation.
I've told you
Yeah.
that a lot.
I
We all agree.
You
I-
need to-
Go right now. Bye. Go climb Mount Fuji.
Right.
Yeah, we're not made to wake up, work, go to sleep, and die.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, you gotta have adventure.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Think Fresh Move Forward podcast, and today we're talking about getting unstuck. Sometimes in business, even life, we get to points where like things are just no longer moving forward, and so that's one of the key themes of this podcast is like how to start moving forward again, or start moving forward for the first time. So I want to ask you guys, what has been some times, and what has been a time that has defined being stuck to you?
I think for me, getting stuck, or at least what triggers it, is SADS. Every time fall hits or winter hits, I literally like I don't make any big decision when winter hits. That's when I get stuck. So
And for people who don't know, that's like
Seasonal depression.
Yeah.
Yep. I have chronic depression, so I go through like real high peaks and lows. So ADHD doesn't help with that. So I get stuck like every 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So I have like I first I have to notice it and recognize it, which is sometimes really hard to do because you get those blinders on. You're in that rut, and you're doing the same thing, but you get that feeling of being burnt out, and that's typically when I recognize like, man, why am I always tired? Or why do I feel like I don't want to do, I'm unmotivated to do anything. I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to do the work. I don't care about anything. Like, all right, well, first things first is I need to change my environment. Yeah?
Now do you, when you're going through that, are you, well, for me, I'm not a very emotionally aware person sometimes, because I'll go through something like that and I won't realize it for like 2 weeks that I even feel bad, and then I realize, oh, things are awful.
Things are awful.
Yeah, and I know that that's kind of a weird case, but like, do you realize it when you start going through that, or like?
It's taken me, years to get to this point of recognizing. I know when I'm going to go on a lull. I can feel just like, okay, I need to like rest. And it's like, as what is it? Jim Carrey, like depression is deep rest, right? That whole philosophy. It's like I can feel it coming on. I'm like, all right, I'm it's just gonna hit me, and I don't know when, but I know it's coming, and then it'll just happen, and then it'll be about 3 or 4 weeks, and then I'll be just stuck in this little rut, and then something triggers it for me to go, oh, I need to change something, and usually that's my environment.
Really? So like, what? How do you go? What's the stimulus? Is it usually that pulls you out of that then?
Working out mainly.
Working out.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of like a reset then.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do? What kind of workouts do you do?
I work out twice a day. It's kind of insane. Yeah, I eat too much. It's all my kids' food, the Dino Nuggies, So a run every day, at least a 30-minute run every day, and then cold plunges. I swear by them. They're awesome.
Yeah, they are.
Just jump in some cold water or take a 30-second shower or whatever, like you said before.
I did that for the
first
first time.
It makes sad voices go away because you're just like, holy shit, I'm cold.
It's also like there's a surge of dopamine that lasts for like 3 hours. And dopamine is one of the first thing that chemically gets hit in your brain during depression. Like and dopamine is the motivating chemical. Yes. Like it's the thing that like makes you want to do it. It's what makes now this is what I've heard someone say, that it's the neurochemical that is the catalyst for addiction too. And so like that's when people are chasing a high, they're chasing a surge of dopamine.
Right. And that's
right?
why
that's what Adderall
ADHD.
really does. It really surges dopamine to an unhealthy level sometimes.
Yep. And that's why it sucks to have depression and ADHD, because sometimes I'll become romantic and I'll be like, this is the best thing ever. I'm going to hyper-focus for 6 days on this one little thing. And then you're depressed and hyper-focused on something. And sometimes that's a really horrible combination.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it pulls you out.
Yeah.
So being able to recognize that's taken me forever to be able to do that. Sometimes I don't notice it, and somebody be like, "Hey man, you doing all right?" Like, I don't know. And then I'll actually reflect on that, and then be like, "I haven't worked out in 4 days." Like, oh, let me go work out. That's like the biggest thing. I can't go 2 days without working out anymore.
Yeah. And so how long have you been working out like that?
Well, the routine dependent, because kids, as a dad yourself, it kind of like goes all over the place, but I have to get some kind of run. I have to get the lactic acid. That's the main thing. It's like I have to run to produce lactic acid in my legs for my body to go, oh, I need to rebuild and do something with it. So if I don't do something, I feel like it's horrible.
Yeah. I've noticed a huge. So I started working out like a year and some change ago, and lost like 60 pounds, and that was great. But I noticed a significant difference, especially at the beginning of my days. Like, right. So most of the time I wake up at 6:30, and I go to the gym from 7 to like 8:30, and then but when I leave the gym and I'm on the and like or when I leave. When I'm on the way to work, I just feel like it's like this big reset. And so like whatever kind of day that I had yesterday stops mattering as much, right? Because you've worked out a lot of the stress.
Yeah, I think it says, I don't know, Ryan, are you a morning workout, or you work out in the afternoons?
Evening.
Yeah, I can't do evenings. Something about just having that check off with maybe it's the previous military experience and just being able to.
What time do you go to bed?
Like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I get up around 5:36 a.m.
That's excessively unhealthy.
You know what might help is sleep. Sleep.
You know what?
I found your problem.
It turns out your brain's not working.
Probably not. Yeah, no, brain goes brr all the time. Like it's just six to. I try to get 6 hours.
I'm with you, Ryan. I work out between like 4 and 6 most days, and sometimes like 6:30. But
I'm around 7 o'clock.
Yeah, so I don't work out that late. But what I like to do is it's a time when I can leave the office and like disconnect for the day, right? And then physically doing it, right? Physically disconnecting, because then I'm in the sauna and I'm like, I have no phone, I have no music, I have no noise.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just like
fantastic.
in silent reflection. And then it's the worst when somebody starts a conversation next to you and they're like, "Oh, it's hot, like a sauna."
It's hot in here.
It's like, "Oh, okay, I didn't know that."
Mine's opposite.
That's why I wear headphones, and I don't want to talk to you when I'm in the sauna.
Yeah, see, but I don't wear headphones because I don't want the distraction of like, oh, I'm gonna now have music playing or whatever, right? So I just want to be in total silence.
Oh, that's not me.
Yeah. Dopamine layering. Yeah. I don't work out with headphones at all.
All right, David Goggins.
Who hurt you?
I'm not. Look, okay.
See, I don't go that far, right?
Well, here's the thing.
If I'm on the row machine, I like
Yeah.
my music. But
hold on. It's also a thing where I can't keep up with headphones. So like it's just a losing battle anyway.
Oh, that's just a personal.
I'm gonna lose everything anyway, and so like it's also easy for me to
keep up with them. Oh, like
just lose.
I physically lose everything.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing. There's almost nothing in my life that's permanent.
I think every week Aaron's like discovering,
he just found a battery on the floor that was his.
Yeah, it's like he's rediscovering a tool. He's like, oh my gosh, this little screw, this little bolt. I've been looking everywhere.
That battery was on the floor over here. He's like, I think that's my battery.
Like 2 weeks probably.
Yeah, 100%, and I needed it for sure.
So that's funny because my workout is a hype. That is my me time to get ready for the day. If I don't have the sauna, workout, shower, get ready, have the outfit that is pressed and clean and ready to go, the rest of my day, I know it's not going to be a good day.
It's not me.
Like,
See,
I have to have that.
Mine is like a hate session. Mine is like a hate session with myself, right?
Jeez.
But well, no, and that sounds terrible. But like honestly, like
body dysmorphia over here.
It's not. I'm the least self-conscious person on the planet. I think. It's mostly about like I am extremely lazy. And if I don't beat that person to crap,
who's gonna lift the logs and the boats?
If I don't,
David.
This is like a real target-rich environment for some therapists. If you're listening right now, because like that's what I'm hearing.
Man.
Oh no, seriously. If I don't work out, I will spend all day, just scrolling reels.
And why did you choose the morning versus the evening?
If we ever had a podcast,
because it won't happen. Because like you have kids. You get home.
Absolutely.
You are busy until you go to bed.
Yep.
If we've ever had a podcast where it's like we're just shooting the shit, and it has nothing to do with helping anyone. It's this one.
I think this is
good EQ as business owners. We all have our problems. We all have things that we have to get out besides just running a business.
That's true.
It all
That's
ties
true.
together.
And ultimately, most business problems are people problems,
Yeah.
right? And so if the leaders of the business are having problems, then
Well, when you're self-employed,
Well,
yourself
yeah,
is the
yeah.
most important.
you are the one to blame.
You got to take care of your mental and physical health.
I will say
Absolutely.
though, the two things that you guys said that you do to get unstuck, I don't do that, or I don't feel like I have that problem.
You
Yeah.
hyperfixate.
I heavily
Absolutely
focus.
do. You hyperfixate. You have ADHD, Ryan.
I didn't say I didn't.
You hyperfixate.
And can we define what that means? Because I don't know what you mean by.
I'll let him
hyperfixate.
define it since he's one who called me ADHD.
What is hyperfixate?
Take a really awesome new idea and spend 3 weeks on it,
Ah.
and then once you
And
hit
nothing
a-
else.
down.
And
and
nothing
nothing
else
else.
exists.
and nothing else exists, and you can't
Nothing
do
else
anything
matters.
else. And then once you hit like some major roadblock, you get bored of it, then you just abandon it.
Well, it's not a roadblock. It's more of a boredom, or it doesn't create any more excitement.
Yeah, no more dopamine.
Like, there's
the
no-
dopamine's gone. You're just like, I'm done.
If you can figure out a way to gamify something, think of it as like an RPG, Skyrim.
Mm.
The excitement continues to get better as you get better along the way. So, like for me, before we started this business, I was in direct sales, 100% commission. My livelihood was you had to be hyper focused, because if I stopped working, I stopped making money. It's not like I'm just gonna take a break or go on vacation for a week, whatever. There's no machine behind me that is continuing to make money. It's not like I can take a week off from a business or a company I'm employed with, and I know I'm getting a week's worth of vacation pay. Didn't have it, so you had to. 10 years of doing that straight just gets you into a certain
hardwired.
You're hardwired
Yeah.
to that now, and trickling that into this business, it's very different because we have a much longer sales cycle. So like if we go a week and we don't sell anything or close a deal, I feel lost. Or not lost, but I feel
Get
like
anxious.
I feel we're behind on something.
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
like we didn't
Yeah.
close a deal, the business is not coming in, and then next week, we close 100K in business. So I'm like, yeah, and then the next week, that excitement's already gone. Like that's
Yeah.
just because I was in that lifestyle.
I think.
So-
Well, honestly, I think that's been one of the biggest driving factors of success, because like I'm not like that at all. Like if something's not coming in, I start like having ideas like a psychopath, and like I start like coming up with way too much work. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That's me. But then so like right now, my newest hyper focused thing is now Twitter/X, and I never ever would have thought.
Twitter/X.
Well, I'm still gonna call it Twitter.
no one
People
knows
call
what
it
you mean.
X.
If you say I was on X yesterday,
It's weird.
you were on ecstasy yesterday.
or you're on some site you probably shouldn't be on when you're at work. You see an X tab on a thing. It's like, I think you should do that at home, sir. Anyways, so that's why I say Twitter/X, because some people, literally, like you said, still don't know. Wait, Twitter? It's not called Twitter anymore.
Gotta
So
find that pronoun.
So the newest thing for me is like, this is more of just a fun side thing, is because you can make money from it now, and the fact that I've seen proof cases with friends of mine. So my friend Gonzalo, who you have met, and you know.
Yep.
When Elon added monetization for all the blue check verified people, and he didn't even tell anyone this was happening, he just sent out paychecks. He got a $21,000 paycheck for posting memes. And shit posting essentially on Twitter. I was like, damn, dude. And then another check came in. I'm like, all right, what are you doing all day? Now it's like Twitter's his full-time job now.
That's crazy.
So I've been doing it on the side.
What was he doing as his day job before that?
He did what I did before
Okay.
realtor gifts.
Interesting. Okay.
Or that branding whole Cutco type stuff. So I think he was kind of stuck in a rut, and he's been posting memes online since 2018, and then came over to X when Elon bought it. And then one day, just, we're going to pay you to attract, more users to the platform, just kind of like YouTube does. And now it's this whole thing on Twitter/X, and it's not called tweeting; it's called posting now. I guess I don't know. People come up with funny terms to call it, but so I created a profile, and I've been hyper focused. I was like, how fast can I get to 1,000 followers, and then how fast can I monetize on Twitter? And I did it in 30 days. and a lot of people, it was like, I've been on like Twitter Spaces now and giving my tips and tricks on what I did to become monetized and get 5 million impressions in a month.
I didn't realize you had crossed that line yet.
Oh, I did. I could
Cool.
have done it in 3 weeks.
Cool.
If I knew like what to do. It's like there's a few things you need to do. And what's crazy is like from a social media standpoint, hashtags and tagging people, you don't do that. That will de-rank and from the algorithm, your post will get seen less. Unlike Instagram or Facebook, you want to have hashtags. It's encouraged.
Yeah.
And Twitter, it's like that is a big no-no.
Well, so what I'm hearing from you is you go down a rabbit hole of research and understanding, right? And then when you've accumulated enough information, it's about taking action and getting results on it.
There are like in the entrepreneur space, for example, there are a lot of people that love going to these like conferences.
Sure.
And they feel like they have to get the one thing that's going to, we talked about this in the podcast.
The silver bullet.
The silver bullet that's going to get the one thing. And they just, wannapreneurs, they just keep going to that. I was that at one point.
Mm-hmm.
I've done Tony Robbins. I've done all his events. Walked across coals.
I think we all have been in that position before, of being like a wannapreneur, then eventually going, all right, I have.
But it comes to a point where you've dumped all this money in and you realize, wait, I'm not making any money. You just need to do it. Start somewhere. So I spent maybe... Actually, it was like an hour-long conversation on the phone with my buddy Gons, who has like 430,000 followers on Twitter, and he's the top 50 profile as far as impressions in the world.
That's wild.
1.5 billion impressions.
That's wild.
It's insane.
He's got more reach than most news channels nowadays.
Yeah.
That's
and I'm like,
wild.
dude, do you have any idea how much your profile's worth now?
Yeah.
He still doesn't. So I'm trying to tell him, I was like, you should start taking sponsorships. Anyways, I had like an hour-long conversation with him, and within that time, I started a profile and started taking the steps. And I now have like 2,300 followers, and it's only been a month and 2 weeks. And assuming I'm doing everything right, the next paycheck should be next 2 weeks, but it'd probably be only like $30-$40. But to me, that $30-$40 was like, yeah, I did it. But to me, $40, we spent that on lunch today between all three of us. So it's, but I want to. I have a goal in mind. Set myself a goal, and I set steps to hit that. So like, I have a goal for I want to hit 10K at this time, and I want to hit 100K by this time. And then there's a, not a turning point, but I forget the terminology. Once you hit a point, it just starts like working for you. When you post something, you don't have to do extra work because you already have the viewership on that platform where it just compounds. I'm trying to remember the term, but critical mass. There's a point on Twitter and you hit critical mass and it just explodes for you. Mm-hmm. So like for him, when he hit 80,000, for whatever reason, Elon posted or commented on one of his tweets, and then he went from 80,000 to 120 in like 2 weeks. Just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But I've learned to set myself goals and timelines for those goals, reasonable timelines, from what I could see in other people have done that are like great expectations. I know some people don't set, there's always false expectations. You can say like fear, like big, hairy, audacious goal. People are like, you have to make the biggest goal. I don't really believe in that because a lot of times
it's a good chance
you
you're not
don't
gonna hit it.
And you don't hit it, and then you quit.
Yeah. You lose the motivation.
Say, and there'll be always some entrepreneur coming here, don't you listen to that, don't set yourself for reasonable goals. I'm like, this is life, man. It's like, I'm not Grant Cardone where I'm spending, $20,000 to buy your course for BS. So set up a reasonable goal from what I've seen other people do, because I've seen some of these other people, and they're not smarter than you or better than you as far as when it comes to a marketing standpoint. So if they can do it, I can do it. Mm-hmm. So that's what
that sounds more like a understanding of how to get out of, right?
Well,
what is some instances where you've gotten stuck in a rut?
I find another problem. I focus on the micro level on, all right, what can I do to break down this problem that I'm in? So
it doesn't sound like a rut.
Well, let's say if it's a rut, like a lack of sales. That's a rut.
Okay.
What can I do to create more of that? How many more emails?
So you're pretty aware when you get stuck in a rut.
Oh yeah. So from a sales standpoint, let's say, who's a person I haven't spoken to in a while that said they need a website. So I like sit back and think of people who I know wanted business, can I start up a conversation with? Or just in passing, remember a conversation from a networking meeting, set up a one-to-one with someone. That right there is a huge driving force on its own, or someone I haven't talked to in a while in business, just to get conversations going.
And
as
the
far
wheels
as
turning.
Get the wheels turning, and you'd be surprised how many times that creates business.
Yeah, totally. And I think this is one of the areas where Ryan and I work well together as business partners, right? Because he is
The other areas we just at each other's throats.
Well, yes, in many cases, but this is where he is good at thinking about those things, right? And always, if there's a problem that exists, thinking about solutions for that problem, right? For me, almost my entire well-being revolves around the quality or caliber of my relationships at any given time. So it's always about relationships. Everything in my life that causes me anxiety or satisfaction or pleasure or anything all has to do with relationships, right? So what that means is that at any given time when he's thinking about how results aren't there from a sales perspective, right, I'm thinking about client relationships, right, and potential downfalls with our relationships, or areas we need to strengthen the relationship, or conversations we need to have about the relationship. And ultimately, that does bring more business in other ways, right? Because now, hey, there could be other things we could upsell, or there could be more opportunities for us to work together.
Yeah, of course.
And it's also a protective thing, right? Like if somebody's a retainer client and we've worked with them for years, I want to do everything we can to strengthen that relationship, make it as long as we can. But it also causes anxiety, right? Because you can't. Relationships are not something you like just out of nowhere fix, right? For me, what I find about being being stuck usually revolves around a relationship is stuck that I'm thinking a lot about. And normally,
help me understand. When you say stuck in terms of a relationship, does that mean that the relationship is not going anywhere, or it's going somewhere negative?
It could be both, right? It could also be we're experiencing the same things over and over again, right? We're just beating our head against the wall, right, with frustration because we're getting the same damn email from a client.
Oh yeah,
nothing's changing,
right?
Yep.
And it's like, it's like clearly I haven't communicated this properly, or we're not on the same page.
Yeah, you know what you should do?
And
you should begin to secretly resent them and do a lot of passive aggressive things.
Yes, exactly.
To like assist the end of that relationship.
Yeah, add more periods to my emails. Right?
Yeah, and answer things with single words.
Single
right?
words. Yes.
Yeah. So that's a book from my playbook.
There you go.
That's really seems to work for me.
Yeah, and that is not what I want to do, right? So for me, I've always found the conversation I don't want to have is the conversation I need to be having.
Yeah.
The conversation I don't want to have that I want to put off is the conversation that I need to be having and I need to be having right now. Right? Meaning there's always going to be a week later.
Yep.
A week later when I actually have that conversation, I will always think to myself, we should have talked about this last week, right? We should have talked about this 2 months ago, right? And I think the person on the other side of the table, 9 times out of 10, feels the exact same way.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, we should have talked about this, right?
Yeah, but I didn't want to.
Better.
I didn't want to, though.
Yeah, that's the challenge.
Thing, yeah.
But see, that's the thing, right? Is that good relationship management, or just, not even like management, but just practice in relationships.
And you have really good practice with that. I mean, that's just been your whole industry is people, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, you always managed and you have that relationship with every person you've been able to under management and clients and so on and so forth. And I've noticed that about you is that you've been able to compartmentalize business side with relationships.
Yeah.
It's a very good strength that you have. And you're able to go,
keep going.
Well, I lost my train of thought now. You're going to have to go now.
I'm sorry.
Just derailed my whole thought process over here.
I guess in my head I was...
So are there 3 people with ADHD in this room?
Oh, probably.
I think there's 4 guys sitting in a chair that have ADHD at some point or one of the night.
In my head I was summing up what you were saying, and it seems like you are definitely in the mode of like confronting the fog.
Confronting the fog. Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean,
cutting the bullshit.
Whenever there's, it's like the fog of war.
I cut through people's BS all the time. That's
I don't know if it's cutting through bullshit as much as it is
just uncovering the things that are not being looked at.
Okay, yeah.
Because the fog represents something that's unclear and represents an area. I mean, obviously it represents an area of weakness because what you don't know, you can't.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
deal with.
And so it's about seeing the smoke screens that people put in when they're not happy with something, right? Because they're
you're
not
really
always
good at seeing through
that's-
facades.
they're not always willing to communicate that.
That's
right?
really worth thinking about.
Yeah.
And so that is like, so, and the more I've gotten, to work with clients over the course of years of time, you start sensing it in different personalities and what somebody says or doesn't say.
Yeah.
We both come back from sales backgrounds, and once you've done enough sales presentations, from either sitting down at an expo or whatever, from networking, you get really good at reading people's undertones as far as like movements and facial expressions. And like when we're in a sales meeting, I can easily tell when someone's just like not having it. I usually put a percentage on likelihood of how this person's going to sell or close. I feel like I've been pretty accurate on those since we've started. But just based off the tonality as far as how someone's speaking, are they constantly moving back in their chair? Do they look anxious? They're nervous? Are they using affirmative words and questions? Like when we do, like when the last presentation we had,
He was saying things like, "Hey, when we execute on this,"
he was saying terms as if he's
language,
like
right?
he already
Already made up his
assumed
mind.
he made up his mind on
sure.
we're doing this.
Sure.
That makes me confident versus when they don't use that language, or I try to tone it. It's like getting them to say yes without me asking them to say yes.
Of course.
Because it takes 12 times to ask someone, do you want to buy this? 12 times. You say that 12 times for them to say yes.
Yeah.
That's usually how many times. But
Well,
is there other ways we can describe that in a sales pitch to get them to that point before you even asked for the price, the sale tag?
Yeah, and that's, I mean, you see smokescreen statements or objections in, the sales process. You see it in an email, right? I mean, you see it when somebody says
You see it
in,
in
email,
relationships. You see it in romantic relationships in a big way too.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Like in every, I think in every relationship, people. It seems like people rarely know how to like coherently explain their position, and so like smoke. Like that's something really worth thinking about.
That's a whole
like
different
the
conversation.
smoke screens that people are putting up when they don't know how how to deal with
hurting
what their
inner
feelings.
children and hurting like your inner child and
that's
because you don't like. That's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Not just in business
That's
side,
really worth
but,
thinking about.
Like,
Well,
Are they talking about getting out of the friend zone?
I also think that a large part of what's molded me in my professional career is in my personal relationships. I don't like for things to not be strong. Like I have like strong, close relationships with multiple friend groups, but it's not a lot of people.
I tell
right?
people that you're the most agreeable person I know.
Well, here's the problem with that, right? Part of the problem with that is too easily wanting to cave on something to be liked, right? Which I don't struggle with in my personal life as much because I have core group of friends where we can say things to each other, and that's what it is.
as you should be able to.
Yeah, yeah. And there are things that Ryan and I'll say to each other that we would never say to a client, right? We were just talking about that like an hour ago,
Fuck
right?
you.
so that is
Not
the problem.
monetizing this video at all.
Yeah, well, there
Yeah, the
goes that.
25 cents we would have made.
Yeah.
Ooh, thanks, YouTube.
But with client expectations, right, you're towing this line of you want to stand firm on your beliefs and your process and what you know to be right while also being agreeable, right?
Sure.
And being good to work with and being open to collaboration or open to feedback, right? Which is one of the hardest things to do in a creative venture, right? And I feel that way too, even though I wouldn't consider myself to be the most creative of people.
Yep.
I am managing a team of creatives, which means that their work is like personal to me, right? So when we get feedback from a client that is in contradiction to what I believe to be good, right? That's something that's easy to get defensive about.
It's like when Aaron asked for my opinion on shots and how it looks.
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause
And he's not going to package it, right? He's just going to tell you what it is.
I'm willing
right?
to tell you what it
That's,
looks
you
like.
know,
Does it look good? I'm not going to try to make you
It's a
feel
time saver.
Yeah. Well, and I get that, right? And that's your personality, and my personality will never be.
You're like,
that, right?
this is the best shot ever, and I'll come in. No, it looks like shit.
my personality is one of I'm gonna tell what my belief is, but I'm gonna roll it in. I'm gonna package it in fine lining and fine paper. Right?
I'm gonna do whatever it takes to not be in conflict with anyone. So
I can't remember. You just reminded me.
It just makes me too uncomfortable.
That's too much work.
You just reminded me. I watched something about feedback for of a dad going to like a recital, and it was talking about proper criticism is a decision of not how blunt you are, but how timing is everything. So it's like, oh man, this play was awesome. Like, no, it sucked. Like, I can't tell my daughter or my son that right now, but the next day be like, here, I wanted you to be really proud of what you've done because your dopamine's really high, or, emotions are really high.
Sure.
And I want to be like, this was horrible.
That's actually a really good point. It's not just about how it's packaged in the moment. It's about when that moment comes that you have the
and that's what you do differently than Ryan. Ryan just doesn't care. And he's like, hey, this sucks. Like, that's
well,
the delivery. Just I don't care.
And again, actually, that's something that makes me think a little bit more about when I should be giving feedback because it is so innate for me to Oreo everything, right? It's a sandwich between two good things. Yep. That is just it just bleeds out of me. There's never
it's like Barney
time.
Stinson, 2 compliments and 1 negative.
and I think any of the people that have
you
worked
know what I'm
for
talking
me,
about?
I know what you're talking about.
I think any of the people that have worked for me would know that that I'm always gonna just bleed out that compliment sandwich. But I think you're also right. I think also people are deeply emotional immediately after creation of something.
Absolutely.
Right? Which means that moment is much harder for them to separate.
6 hours, a whole day working on this awesome graphic. Yeah. James has told me it looks like crap. Now I don't know what I did wrong versus, hey, great work.
Yeah.
Next day, let's actually talk about this.
I'm not always an asshole. Okay?
I never said that. I just said your criticism is very direct.
Yes.
Which is a time saver because that's just how you operate. You just why am I going to spend 20 minutes of sugarcoating something versus saying
there are times though
in
say sales conversations I'm not as direct. That just comes from reading the person. Someone's very soft-spoken.
Oh, that's different. Yeah.
You say one bad word and she's like, or whatever. I
that's
usually
the difference between talking
to
Aaron and talking to a client.
Let's also keep in mind the strength of the relationship.
Right.
Right. And if you don't have that deep or strong of a relationship, you can't say this.
I usually don't swear in front of a client until they swear first.
Yeah.
If they start drawing F-bombs, I'm going to start drawing F-bombs too. I'm going to match.
I'm kind of like Gary Vee, though. I'm kind of like the same way. It's like if you can't.
I'm exactly the same as Gary Vee.
The thing about Gary Vee, he just comes out of the gate. So
might as well be
genuine.
genuine.
He has the luxury of being able to do that because of where he is in his
because of money.
Yeah,
it's FU money.
Yeah,
someone would say Merry Christmas and Gary comes and Merry Christmas to you too or whatever. It's just that's just Gary Vee. But I usually don't. I mimic what that person is.
It's
speaking.
polite. That's polite.
So.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's a form of mirroring, right?
Yeah.
And part of a good conversation.
Well, that's in any sales
mirroring.
conversation is mirroring.
So it's from a body language perspective, from a how you're speaking.
If someone's gonna come at me straight up hard and trying to be a dick, I'll be right there with you, bud.
I mean, it's kind of like Ryan Hudson with your first sale. Just don't give me the pitch. How much are the knives?
Well, no. He said, if you do this pitch, I'm going to take that knife and I'm going to stab you with it.
Right.
Is literally what he said. I was like, okay. So that set is this much?
That's aggressive.
That's literally what he said. Obviously, he's joking. I will say, though, if you can survive a Call of Duty lobby, you can survive
probably the most toxic.
You can dodge a wrench,
Earth.
you can dodge a ball.
People like the internet's toxic, Reddit's toxic, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. No. Go to a Call of Duty. When you hear a 5-year-old calling you every word on the planet, one, who are your parents on the first thing? Why are you even on this game? But if you can survive that and then also be quick-witted to get back at them, you will nail any sales conversation. That is the best sale. Actually, that's the best sales tool. Is you play Call of Duty.
That's going to be the new office, James. He's going to have a Call of Duty lobby in here. Here's your onboarding. You need to play 50 hours, get prestige level 10. Till you do that, you can't sell anything.
If you can verbally assault a 12-year-old,
can you survive?
You can make a sale.
No. Can you survive the assault of a 12-year-old?
From the 12-year-old.
And then put him back down in his place.
Make him cry.
Then you've won.
All right, I'm gonna move this on.
Man.
So my way of being stuck. Okay, so something that's gotten me unstuck. My biggest place that I've been stuck was being greedy. I guess being and being like a bit of a superhero with the two sides of the business that I run. Right, so there's the real estate photography and videography stuff, right? Yeah. And that kind of business starts as like you are everything to everyone, right? You are the editor, you are the photographer, you're the videographer,
you're the star of the show.
You're everything, and so the thing about that kind of business is it's also very personal. Like a lot of times I would get hired because I was nice to people, not because like I mean, at some point. That type of photography is very commodity, right? And so people are hiring someone based on they like to work with them. And so it was I got super stuck because I was spending all of this time running that part of the business, and it was like really hard for me to put that down and do other things because of the nature of that business is everything is right now, right? So everything that you shoot is delivered tomorrow morning. Everything that you like, everything. And so if you are not able to like return that stuff and get that stuff done, then like you're not really going to have this business.
Yeah.
And so it was really hard for me to let go of that money, right? Because like to do this other side of the business, I was like not doing justice to either because I was like, okay, so I'll start outsourcing this part and I'll start outsourcing this part. And so like the in-between was I was outsourcing the editing on video and I was also outsourcing the editing on photo, and I was just basically just showing up for both. Mm-hmm. And I've realized that like in video at least, you shouldn't be outsourcing until like your editing until you have a really good idea of what makes your edits yours. Right? Until you can teach it to someone in a way that like you would do it, I don't think that you should be outsourcing it.
Yeah, we've talked about that before.
And that's because because like you're not done growing in video when you in terms of editing. Editing is what makes you grow in video because like it's the thing that punishes you.
You mastered the process.
Well,
it's
let
the
me
thing
ask you
that defines what you do on set.
Yeah, let me ask you then. So why do you say greed, from the sense that you felt like you were the only one who could execute, so you had to show up?
It was a little bit of greed, and it was a little bit of superhero syndrome.
A little bit ego, right, that you had to disconnect from, or was it?
Yeah, well, it was also like, okay, when you're doing everything in real estate photography, you can make a killing. Mm-hmm. Like you can, because I went from making like $17,000 to $20,000 a year at Starbucks, to making like 30,000 in like my first year in real estate photography, to jumping like all the way up to the 120.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh Jesus, this is awesome. Don't know how to live like this. And then like, but then like when you're trying to transition, like you realize how much of the money you start giving up. Like, okay, an admin costs this. You're like, and then like an editor cost is like removing these profits.
A
and you're
second
like,
shooter.
And and then a second shooter starts eating up those profits. And you're like, I'm left with a quarter of what I was making.
Yeah.
But the problem is if you don't do that, that is the ceiling.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But how much
24 hours in a day?
Yeah, because all your time would still be...
You're stuck there.
Stuck there.
At 120,000 a year.
How much stress are you also?
And that's the thing. That's where that led me. I was so stressed out that I was relieved when I got into a wreck, because I was like, thank God, no one's gonna expect me to.
That's
be
what gets you out of a rut. You just gotta get in car.
You have to get in a car accident. That's what you have to do.
Just get T-boned.
No.
Hey, that's one way to wake you up. I mean, a
near-death experience.
Cold plunge is one thing, but I mean, an accident.
So that's what caused it. But I think what you have to do is like for me to get unstuck is just look at the reality that you're headed toward.
Yeah.
Right. And I was just so stressed out. Like no amount of money was worth that. Like I was just like freaked out all day long. I was working 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. and then just like waking up and doing it again and doing it again, and then staying up all night some nights just to like keep pace.
It also gets monotonous because you're doing the same thing over and over again.
Yes,
Yeah,
and you start, and you super stop caring about it, and you're just like, you hate everything. You hate everything that you're doing.
Well, and you also were so good at it that it was like you could do some of it in your sleep. You feel like, right?
Yes, and that was what was so difficult
you're not
about
growing anymore because you're just like.
Well, and so it was so hard for me to hire a video editor because I was just like, I can edit this video in 20 minutes, and I'm about to pay someone. I'm about to pay someone like $50 to do that. 20 minutes. 20 minutes. I'm going to pay someone $50 for 20 minutes. And I was just like I don't know
but
that
for them it would take an hour or whatever, right?
It doesn't. Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, that was a finished video.
Yeah.
But it was just like when you have 3 to 4 videos a day.
Yeah.
It's just like that 20 minutes, like at night that you have to have turned around that next day. It's just. So I was also like, I was making great money with a really low price point, right? My prices were too low, but I was able to make the money because
good
I was everything.
with people.
I had 100% of the return. I had zero over. I mean, that business has almost no overhead.
Yeah.
You buy your camera and your software and your business license. You have almost no overhead.
Yeah.
And like it's
the overhead's you, right? And if you're willing to work at 11 p.m.
Yep.
those extra 20 minutes.
Yep.
Right? But that's again.
But it's not just 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It ends up being a lot more.
Exactly. Because it's 20 minutes here, and here, right?
Yep. And more than that, like that's the time from me starting the edit to ending the edit. That's not the time spent in delivering to the client. It's not the time. There's just a lot more, like offloading data and then holding the emotional stress of it. So getting unstuck for me was just like realizing the reality I was heading toward, and so that was super important. That was what getting unstuck for me was like. So and I feel a lot better about my life at this point.
My life.
I work out now, so that's where everything changed for me.
Yeah, we have to like burn any pictures of you from like a year and a half, 2 years ago, because some of those still crop up in our proposals and such. I know. We got to get new imagery.
I don't care. We can have that, Aaron.
It's fat.
Let him hang out for a while. He was still pleasant.
He was still pleasant. Well, I think this has been
an
interesting conversation.
Do you guys have any ruts that you feel you're stuck in right now? We've talked about getting unstuck, but like at this moment, are you stuck currently?
Yeah, a little.
Where?
It's editing again.
It's Tuesday and we haven't sold anything, so
it's for me it's
we had a strong proposal meeting on Monday, right? So
still haven't sold.
It's just patience, right? Patience.
We didn't sell anything last week.
Well, we have a few big ones.
Yeah.
We have a few big ones that we're just waiting for final word on.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's I'm a little stuck at the moment. We had a certain client, and this was we had a certain client that we weren't allotting time for post-production for. We were just saying, yes, we'll meet that deadline. And like, I just started getting crazy stressed from that. And I was just like, cause we were just like, doesn't matter what it is. We'll just meet that deadline. And we weren't blocking the time to get it done.
Yeah.
And so
I think this is where especially Ryan, myself, and Aaron, like when we're working well together, can be a really powerful dynamic, because Ryan immediately goes to process, right? And what are some things we can do different in the process to improve delivery? I go to, great, what can we do to communicate this to the client and package it in such a way that they're excited about this new direction for all the reasons they're going to benefit, right? And then it means for you, Aaron, this sigh of relief, like, oh, thank God, right? Which sometimes you need as a creative, because you need the creative space to be able to breathe and be able to do your best work. Right?
And I everyone hates the pain point, but the pain point is what is the thing that makes you act.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So until you feel it, you don't change anything.
I will say I need a vacation.
I've told you that a lot.
We all agree.
Go right now. Bye. Go clout mine Fuji.
I haven't been on a vacation since we started this business.
Is that right? Wait a minute. Oh, you didn't get to Greece, right?
Nope.
Goodbye. So he's going right now after this podcast is over. Ryan's going to pack up his bag and be gone for 3 weeks.
I would flip out So I think, and I've told you that, I think you should take a vacation.
Man,
I
I
think you
haven't
should
had
take
a
a
vacation in
freaking
6
sabbatical is what you should take, right?
Yeah.
But
Well, this business will fall apart if I'm gone for a month.
No,
Oh,
I don't think so. I
no.
don't
All
think
right,
so.
Darth Sidious. No.
But it obviously, like, I mean, I think, and we didn't really talk about that, but one thing is to recharge, to like step
Which
away.
we've talked about recharging.
Yeah, totally. All of that I think has a ton of value too, right? To be able to step away and then like reevaluate things and actually take a look at things with fresh eyes, right? Just like you would in the creative process, where sometimes you get stuck and then you have to like come back to it and then you see something different. I see this every day with Wordle. Right? start Wordle, and then I'm like 2 in. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here, right? And I'll put it away, come back an hour later. I'm like, you know what?
Yep.
Like the clouds have
Stepping away is
cleared, right?
powerful.
Right.
It is.
The
Yeah.
thing is, though, a vacation, like a sit on a beach for a week, doesn't do it for me anymore. I've done all
It
that.
has to be an adventure for you.
It has to be. Like, I
Yeah.
need to be.
I have to
Everybody's
work.
different.
I have to work really hard.
Well, I need to be doing something. So, like, the last trip I did was the Everest trip.
Yeah.
And it was a workout, all right. It was 100 miles, but it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing beats those views. Now, I will say, if I am taking a week off trying to do nothing, the only place I know that would work is like, Fiji, Bora Bora.
Paradise
But
Island.
Yo, let's go to Kilimanjaro. Let's do it.
Yeah,
Let's make a film.
I don't know if I want to go there
Good
quite
freshman
yet.
media sponsor.
I mean, I'll be down for it. I just need to have proper training, but I would say it has to be, for me, it's hard for me just to sit down for a whole week and just do nothing
Yeah.
or get drunk.
It
I
doesn't.
just don't.
It
I did all that.
creates problems for me.
It's boring.
Just
It
to
just
sit.
I get super bored.
Might die tomorrow. Let me do something exciting.
Yeah,
it's-
I have no problem doing that.
Yeah.
Now,
No,
here's the thing.
that
Here's
works
the-
for.
Yeah.
Here's the
yeah.
thing. I have no problem doing it with people that I really enjoy spending the time
Oh,
with.
company,
right?
yeah.
So like
Yeah,
that's
Mhm.
we do a Caribbean trip once a year or once every other year at this point. But
Can you do that for a week though by yourself?
no, I don't have an interest in doing that. I don't have an interest in doing most things just kind of like
Alone?
just alone.
I will
right?
say-
totally. I mean, like obviously, I don't mind like eating alone. I've been single for a little while, right? So I
Yeah,
don't
go to
mind
lunch
that,
pair, so
right?
take it out to the movies,
I don't
stuff
mind
like
that,
that.
but,
an adventure is.
I will say
yeah.
doing the adventures with other people that you don't know. So like when I used G Adventures, which I recommend, I was with a group of like 12, 14, maybe 15 people from all. I think there was like 4 or 5 of us that were from America, and then everyone else was from somewhere.
Yep.
Denmark.
That's cool.
A couple from Ireland could not. They were speaking English, but
Different kind
accents
of English.
were so.
Yeah.
it was
yeah.
so deep. You're just like agreeing with him when he starts laughing. Like,
You're like, I need some,
Irish
I need
people.
some alcohol to start
They were great.
understanding
They were
this.
Go
great.
to some small towns in Ireland.
There's
it's really
that,
awesome.
a guy
Cool
from
people.
India, very, very posh Indian guy with a British accent, but lived in and worked in New Delhi. I said Denmark, a couple from Germany. It was really cool hearing their philosophies, and it was, what was it, 2017 when I went? So it's like the
Jeez.
hearing the political views too, as far
Before
as
my kid was born.
uh,
Wow.
Trump was just elected, and it was actually really curious to hear everyone's
Yeah.
from across the pond, as we call it.
Yeah.
But like this guy I met from Denmark, this guy was literally a traveler. That's all he does. He sold everything he owned. He had like $90,000 and has been traveling the world. Still is
Mm-hmm.
to this day for 3 or 4 years. Well, since then, on a $90,000 budget. He stays in hotels that cost like $250 a night. He doesn't do. He's the typical like backpacker couch surfer dude, and he's gone to some amazing places. But
Don't have a mortgage, car, nothing like that. It's pretty inexpensive to
well,
travel. the world.
people say that it's expensive to travel. No,
It's expensive to get out of the United States.
it's you can get out of the United States for pretty cheap. It's just if you want to go to every tourist destination, you want to live the same, you want to stay in the same type of mentality that you are in the States. Yes,
Yeah.
that's what you pay for. But the second you step out, like the second I got into Nepal, that culture shock hits you like that. Like,
Gotta go to some
where
hostels.
the
Yeah, yeah.
hell am I? When you see a whole family on a
Mhm.
moped, the dad's driving, he's the only one in a helmet, his wife's behind him with the baby, like
Yep.
literally an infant between them, and then the kid on the back of the mom and the kid on the front,
Mhm.
and he's weaving in and out of traffic. Like, okay, this is a different place. Also, when you see someone public defecate, that's also wakes you up too. But you can just go to San Francisco for that.
There's an app for that.
There's an app for that. But yeah, I think vacation's one way. Yeah, it's just stepping out of your everyday zone. I just need to do it.
I mean, I think you could do that in little ways, though, too, right? We do that on occasion. I mean, we've occasionally, like, every couple months, we'll set up a time to go golfing in a random afternoon. Right?
Speaking of which,
it's like if we don't have
I
meetings.
gotta talk about that.
Yeah.
And that's because, like, that's a way to get out of your normal, like, day-to-day grind, right?
Yep.
Like, it's not about the amount of time. It's about interrupting the normal process, right?
Yeah, we're not made to wake up, work, go to sleep, and die.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, you gotta have adventure.
Yep.
So, anyways, I think that concludes this episode. Does Aaron have anything last?
Aaron's like zoning out
No,
over there.
that was great.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what we're talking about. No, we have a guest for our next podcast, and that we're talking about.
2 weeks.
That's more on the human
Side.
level side of
Yeah.
things of connection. So more on.
Actually, kind of a good segue from this to that one.
personalities and
Yeah.
relationships. Yeah,
So.
totally.
Again,
Awesome.
thanks for tuning in to the Think Fresh Move Forward podcast. See you in 2 weeks.